What's going on, everyone? My name is Jason. Welcome back to Backtrack Cinema. In this video, we'll be counting down my top 10 80s horror movies, but with no slashers. So get your popcorn, get your drink, and let's talk some 80s horror films. Hey everyone, welcome back, and welcome back to my ranking of my top 10 80s horror films. I've done my top 10 80s slashers, so this is my top 10 80s horror, but no slashers. So just a little disclaimer there. So let me know in the comments what your top 10 80s horror movies would be with no slashers. Let me know some of your standalone horror films. Let me know your favorite 80s horror movie of all time, and we'll have a good discussion in those comments. So coming in at number 10 is The Blob. Man, I love The Blob. I only saw this movie actually like a year or two ago. I never actually saw the remake of The Blob. This is the 1988 one, a remake of the 50s classic. And this is a fantastic flick. This is fun. It's entertaining. Has some really great special effects in this. Like I was blown away watching it now, like going, man, these got some really top-notch special effects. The way they did the Blob and everything. And the characters. The characters were great. It felt like something out of a Stephen King novel. The setting taking place in the small town. We get to know all these characters well. Love the sheriff. I love the main girl and the main guy at the end. And they do this switcheroo. Our main protagonist with this high school jock, and he gets wiped out really early. And the bad boy, the person you're set to almost hate, you know, ends up getting a character arc of his own, of being someone we really enjoy watching on screen. So really like everything about The Blob. Just a fun and entertaining movie. Coming in at number 9 is Evil Dead 2. Man, I love Evil Dead 2 as well. Evil Dead 2 is fantastic. Sam Raimi comes back for another Evil Dead movie. I don't know the history of this. I'm not sure if this is a remake or if it's an actual sequel to Evil Dead. You guys let me know in the comments what the actual truth of all that is. But I've always enjoyed Evil Dead 2 more than Evil Dead 1. I really like the blend of comedy and horror in this. Like, when it's funny, it's absolutely hilarious. But when it's supposed to be terrifying, it is pretty terrifying of the situation Ash is in and just the atmosphere of everything. Because he's alone for a lot of the movie, and how, you know, it's very atmospheric. The smoke in the woods and just everything in the cabin, the creaking, everything, and the comedy is gold. And seeing Ash going, everything he has to go through in this. There's buckets of blood in this, but when his hand gets possessed, I love that whole moment where he's smashing dishes on his head. He flips himself. He ends up cutting his hand off. It's just awesome stuff. And the one-liners, you know, groovy. You know what I mean? We love Ash. Bruce Campbell just brings something to this character. He's just very charismatic, and I just really love Evil Dead 2. Coming in at number 8 is Night of the Creeps.
I got good news and bad news, girls. The good news is your dates are here.
What's the bad news?
They're dead.
Night of the Creeps is another one that's very nostalgic with me. I watched it as a small child. You get a good mix of genres with this film, where it kind of like horror and comedy, B-movie, sci-fi, zombie, and then you get a little hint of slasher in there. Of course, Tom Atkins is awesome as the main cop in this, and we see a little history of his past. He brings that charisma. He brings those one-liners. He brings that tough guy cop image. You know, just love him in this.
I already killed you. You son of a bitch, I already killed you.
Our main character of Chris goes on his own character arc, always being this pushover. He's not really aggressive. And then he kind of becomes like this alpha male at the end of the movie, and he takes care of business at the end of the movie. So there's really good stuff there. I just felt like our love interest, Cynthia, here should have been more like an alpha female. I think it's not that the actress did a bad job of playing her role. She did a good job. But I think the characterization was wrong. I think she should have been more of an alpha female, someone you believed was in charge of a sorority house, if you know what I mean. But Night of the Creeps is great time. It's entertaining. It's fun. You get a bit of everything in this movie. Coming at number 7 is Fright Night.
Realize how much trouble you've caused me? Spying on me.
almost disturbing my sleep.
I love Fright Night. Fright Night's probably my favorite vampire flick. I love this flick. This character of Charlie who thinks his neighbor is a vampire, his new neighbor who's moving in. So you get this kind of rear window kind of vibe to it when he's looking out the window all the time, seeing his neighbor at night, and he thinks he's a vampire. And he would be right. He is a vampire. Jerry the vampire, played by Chris Sarandon, is amazing. Again, charisma, charisma, charisma. He just has a lure. He has an ambience around him. The guy could suck you in with his eyes. You know what I mean? That great moment where he seduces Charlie's girlfriend at the bar, where he's dancing with her, the great music going along. Awesome stuff, man. Just awesome. Great practical effects in this movie. There's a scene where his buddy turns from, like, he's like a werewolf and he transforms back into himself, and I get a real Hellraiser kind of vibe to it. And a great balance of comedy and horror as well. You get a really good balance of that. When it's horror, it's really fun, and when it's comedic, it's really funny. And it's a throwback to the old Hammer horror films kind of thing. You know what I mean? So Fright Night's a great time always. And if you like this video so far, guys, give it a thumbs up. It really helps grow the channel. Coming in at number 6 is Critters. Man, I love Critters. Critters is such a blast. I love seeing these vicious bastards just tear up this farmhouse, tear up this little town. In Critters, we get these creatures from outer space that, attack this family's homestead, and Dee Wallace is the mother. She's fantastic in this genre as always. And it's about a family coming together and defending their farm, and a young boy taking charge of becoming responsible and defending his family. He's really the one that goes on the biggest character arc, I find. Protecting his parents. This is one where the kids end up protecting the parents and saving the day. And I'm a Critters fan over a Gremlins fan. I like Critters a lot more. I think the design of them is really cool. I think it's fun. It's entertaining. You just have a blast with Critters, and the bounty hunters coming down to Earth and going after the Krites, as they call them. It's pretty hilarious too. It's dated. The movie's really dated. It's low budget, but still a blast every time with Critters. Coming in at number 5 is Cujo. Another one I watched as a kid. Like, a lot of these ones are nostalgia with me, guys, and Cujo is fantastic. I think it's one of the best horror performances by the great Dee Wallace. Dee Wallace, fantastic in this movie. She just had some success with E.T. She comes and does Cujo and really plays this character of Donna Trenton really, really well. That third act is fantastic, where Donna and her son are alone in the car won't start, and Cujo's rabid and just insane, attacking them and trying to get into the car any way he can. He looks great. It looks vicious. It's terrifying. If you're scared of dogs already, this thing would probably terrify you. And if you're not, you probably would be scared of dogs by the end of it. But the movie really has this theme of fear running through the whole thing. You got the young boy who's afraid of monsters, and that plays it to the end, because Cujo basically looks like a monster at the end. You got the father working so hard, and while he's doing this, because he's afraid that he won't be able to make the best living, give his family the best things. And you got Donna. She ends up having this affair. If she regrets it, obviously. She's trying to put her family back together. And there's a lot of fear with her character. And I just love how Dee Wallace really plays this character, because really, this woman having an affair with it, she got this great husband, this great family. You should almost hate her a bit, but you don't. You actually really sympathize with her and care for her. And by the end, she pays that ultimate price. She's paying for a sin she's committed. But fortunately, they kept the kid alive in this movie, and got this ominous ending, because you don't know what happens to the family. They say a tragedy like this either brings the family together or it tears them apart. You leave with this ending that's mysterious. So yeah, I love Cujo. Coming at number 4 is Return of the Living Dead.
Worked in the movie! Well, it ain't working now, Frank. You mean the movie line?
I love Return of the Living Dead. Return of the Living Dead's my favorite zombie flick. It's full of great comedy again, great mix of comedy, great mix of horror, great characters laced throughout this whole movie. I personally love Trash the most. I think she's a great character. She's hilarious. As a kid when I watched this, how could we all forget the striptease on the tombstone, right? But the acting is really good in this because the acting is supposed to be like a little over the top. It's intended that way. And I think the actors do a good job with most of it. And it's an entertaining, good time with great practical effects. It's one of those movies that you just put on to have some fun, to wind down. You can watch it with a bunch of friends, you know what I mean? It's just one of these movies that's just going to get you laughing. It's entertaining. It's a cult classic, man, for a reason. Characters, the tone, and the fun it's having. Partying in a graveyard with the rain coming down, it creates great atmosphere. Great stuff. I love Return to the Living Dead. Coming at number 3 is Silver Bullet.
But it's not my fault!
Now, this is my ultimate werewolf movie. I love this movie. I have a blast with it every time. Again, it mixes a bit of comedy. I love the atmosphere it goes for in this. And the narration of Jane telling the story as an older adult. As a kid, I always found it quite creepy, the way she tells the story. And I just love that. I love the narration. Absolutely love it. The dynamic relationships you get between Uncle Red, Gary Busey, and Corey Haim, and the character development between Marty and Jane is really good in this. You know, having a lot of tension at the beginning of the film with them both and learning how much they really care for each other and how much of a family they are. And I know the classic werebear, it doesn't look great. They had to hide it, but it creates this Jaws effect. It creates that effect that where they had to hide it actually suited the movie, because when they kept the wolf in the shadows, really created some really great scenes. Like, I love the kill of the woman who finds out she's pregnant, and where the wolf is climbing up to the roof. It kind of reminds me of Black Christmas, where you see his hands climbing up like Billy climbing up to the attic, and the way he crashes through that window, tears it apart. As a kid, I mean, I remember blood and guts everywhere. It's, you know, using that imagination, conjuring up what we imagine in our minds. But now watching it now, you just see her lying on the bed after with just some blood splattered on her. But, you know, in my mind, it was always a lot worse. So I always appreciated Silver Bullet for that. And Reverend Lowe, you know, I thought it was a pretty good performance. I liked him as the wolf in this. I liked him as Reverend Lowe, where, you know, he slowly starts turning and turning. Like Marty says, he gets wolfier and wolfier as the moon gets closer. That's great stuff. Again, Stephen King, based on the short novella by him. And I really think this one could use like a mini series or a 10 episode on Shudder or something. I think it really would really suit it, you know, going through fleshing out each victim from each month. You know what I mean? Going through it's called Cycle of the Werewolf. Just going through that story, I think would be good. Coming in at number 2 is The Fly.
Don't be afraid.
No, be afraid. Be very afraid.
Man, I love The Fly. David Cronenberg just crafted something really, really great here, man. And I like how he forces you to watch. He forces you to observe everything that is going on with this character of Jeff Goldblum's transformation into The Fly. He doesn't really hold back on any of the practical effects. Everything's just raw and disgusting, and you want to look away, but you can't. And I just love how David Cronenberg forces us to watch everything. This love story between Seth and Ronnie, you know what I mean? It's just fantastic. A love story that turns into ultimate tragedy at the end. He's the scientist who's built these pods, and he's learned how to transport objects from one pod to the next. He's having trouble with organic tissue, so he puts himself in the pod, a fly gets in there, and then the machine turns itself into a DNA splicer. He's not just becoming a fly physically, he's becoming the fly in every way. I just love where he talks about insect politics and telling Ronnie, you know, insects don't have politics. They are cruel, they're brutal, they lack any compassion, they rely completely on instinct.
Insects don't have politics. They're very brutal. No compassion, no compromise. We can't trust the insect.
And that's what he's becoming. He's becoming this instinctive, disgusting human fly, you know what I mean? And he tells her to stay away at first. And just that ending, man, the ending where Gina Davis has to take him out. She has to shoot him because he spliced himself with a pod. So he's basically just some human fly pod thing, you know, mixture of everything. And he's just in agony. He puts the shotgun up to his head and she just has to blow him away. And her performance is fantastic. She's just crying and her eyes are red. Her face is red. all the performances here, they just go for it. They go to that place. And it really, you really connect. You really connect with the characters in this. The Fly is awesome. Before I give you guys my number one, here are 5 honorable mentions. But coming in at number one is The Thing.
I know I'm human. And if you were all these things, then you'd just attack me right now. So some of you are still human. This thing doesn't want to show itself. It wants to hide inside an imitation.
This movie has become a classic and is regarded as one of the best horror movies of all time. With everyone I've talked to, people on the internet, critics now, considering it was a flop at the time, this movie it gained its momentum. It found its audience, and everyone I know loves this movie. He created a really moody, atmospheric film that deals with that paranoia and the concept of this creature. You know what I mean? This creature that can look like anybody, can imitate anything. And if it can look like someone, the paranoia that creates within this group, it's just awesome to watch. It's awesome to see how it all unfolds. And the practical effects by Rob Bottin, man, just absolutely amazing. I mean, the man suffered exhaustion. He was so overworked of everything they had to create. You gotta love practical effects. This, the work and the love that went into these things, everything they had to make. I personally love the dog kennel scene. That's my favorite. Then when that dog's face just cracks right open, and Kurt Russell comes in and waiting for the flamethrower. He's like, "Get your ass over here!" And they want to torch that freaking thing up. Fantastic. And we talk about Kurt Russell, just amazing in this. He plays such a great pilot. He plays that loner type character so well, but takes charge when he has to. I love his character in this. He's just awesome in this. You know, he's playing chess with the computer, and the computer wins. He's like, takes a drink. He's like, "Cheating bitch." He pours his drink into the hard drive. But they just feel like they feel like the kind of characters that you would see. They look and feel like you would see in a science post like that. You know, these rugged blue collar kind of people. And the score is fantastic. The score has this heartbeat, like an irregular heartbeat to it. Like almost like the Thing's heartbeat. You know, that dun 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 dun, boom boom. It's fantastic. I just love the way that's going on throughout this whole movie. And you gotta love that ominous ending at the end, where McCready and Childs are just drinking, and they're sitting here frozen to death because they don't know who the Thing is, and they're too tired to get up to do anything about it. I love the way the film ends. It's a perfect horror film, man. It's got a great setup. It's got the practical effects. It's got the characters. It's got the music. It's got the acting. It's got a great ending. It's solid first act, second act, third act. I love this movie. The Thing is absolutely perfection. It's awesome. So that is it, guys. That's my top 10 horror movies from the 80s that are not slashers. If you like the content I'm dishing out, then please subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out any other videos. And if you like this video, guys, you will definitely like my other top 10 80s film rankings. I'll post them below there. My name is Jason. You're watching Backtrack Cinema. I will see you in the next video, and I will see you in the movies, man. Cheers.